Before we dial in the pop-up on a shortboard, we need to talk about foot positioning on a short. Before we dial in the pop-up on a shortboard, we need to talk about foot positioning on a shortboard. So you'll see here, back foot is positioned right atop that tail pad, but with good surfing, the back foot is going to move, pivot, and transition. The front foot, where here you see Clayton's foot is slightly angled forward, can be that angle forward to also perpendicular to the stringer, but never parallel, as that offers no stability. Generally, you're going to be a bit wider than the hips in a stance position, with both feet slightly angled forward, about 30 to 40 degrees. That front foot will be slightly dictated on the length of your board, but if it's a standard high performance board, they generally have the width towards the center point of the board, and that's roughly where you want that front foot to go, as that widest point of that board is the most stable and also your gas pedal. This gas pedal front foot surfing idea will be developed later in this program. So here you see Clay again. Again, that front foot could be a lot more perpendicular to the stringer, but you see that back foot transitioning. There's his coffee cup arm, which you'll learn later. And then there's that good compression. And yes, you can pivot onto that big toe. People are often perplexed about this back foot moving idea onto the toe. Well, here you can see me in a pit on my toe with my heel off the pad. So that back foot can pivot and transition and move and come up onto that big toe, or when you're turning, the foot can be totally flat. But a key is that that back foot is never pointed backwards. As soon as it points backwards, it puts you into this crab poo stance, totally limiting any progression of surfing. So what is most relevant is that that back foot faces slightly forwards, because that allows for proper positioning and a stance that allows you to then compress. It allows you access to the hip range of motion. It allows you to position your body in a manner that can then access the positions you need to be in for progressing your surfing. So it's relevant that we have an understanding of where this foot position needs to be, because our walk up to pop up places us into a proper stance and proper position. So now you have an understanding of foot position. Let's look at the shortboard pop-up. Here I've got my stance, and I reverse engineer the triangle process that was introduced by Clayton. But since it's a shortboard, I don't push off my toes. I don't come to that initial big triangle, but I have support from my knees and thighs. That is where I start and bring the rear foot up to the small triangle. Here I show the full process, but again, that can't be functional on a shortboard because our toes aren't in contact. But I can still reverse engineer it. Again, there's large triangle process, which works on a mal or a longboard. We skip the big triangle and come right to the small triangle when on a shortboard. And then everything else is the same. Eyes up, head up, arms up. Look at the foot positioning. The fluid process is still effortless. And even here I am showing switch stance. Again, your feet might be a little wider, a little narrower. There was a bit more speed. But if you can do it slowly and effortlessly, you can do it in high-speed performance scenarios as well. For visual reference, we're once again going to cover Brent Rose's How the World's Best Surfers Pop Up in Slow-Mo. Again, you can find this video on YouTube, search for that exact term, and we are going to directly reference some pro slow-mo pop-ups. So here we got the absolute man, Kelly Slater. So initially, eyes up, head up, he is looking where he wants to go. He's doing some kicks as necessary to get a little more propulsion. Now here, eyes up, head up, and he's going into that Cobra Sphinx position. So again, this is where you would initially start posting up, and if it was a longer board, you'd start going into that full large triangle position, or if it's a smaller board, he's starting to put pressure through his thighs and knees into the tail pad. Here, he starts to pull. So he's now pushed off of his knees, and you're going to notice back foot has already planted before the front foot has landed. This is why we instruct this tripod process. So you start getting, it gives you more control, but you start getting the fluidity. It's literally as if you are trying to walk up. Now you're going to see hands immediately come up. And here we start getting into coffee cup and sliding the cardboard that you will be introduced to later in this program. So let's look. John Florence, he's already starting to go up into that Sphinx position. Where are his eyes? He's looking down the line. Intermediate beginner surfers only look here where they don't want to go. Eyes up, head up. You see the pressure coming off of the knees. Then, back foot's already planted. So from this position, it's almost like he's a sprinter in a sprinter stance coming out of the blocks. Front foot now lands. Now, hands come up. Pros can get away with being a bit slack. What you're going to see from later programs or later videos within this program is that these hands need to immediately get up higher because John knows where he is in positioning in space. Generally, beginners and intermediates, they don't realize their hands are down here. And if your hands stay here, you cannot get into other positions that surfing requires. So he's casual and then boom. That was a little cardboard slide that we'll get to later. The inertia coming from the upper body. And then here's the coffee cup, big cardboard drive. So now we'll have a look at Medina. So nice calm paddle stroke in, eyes up, head up. He now goes into, again, that Sphinx Cobra position. This is always really important. We have to reiterate this a lot on our coaching trips, is you need to, be looking where you want to go. Again, intermediate beginners are always looking exactly where they don't want to go, and it has to do with momentum of the body. So what he's going to go is essentially as if he's a sprinter getting ready to run in this direction. Nice arch position. He's just pressed off the knees off of that tail pad and starting to go into hip flexion, pulling the legs underneath the body. Back foot had already planted. So if we reverse there just a little. Nice arch position, looking where he wants to go. Boom, back foot's down. Front foot still swinging through. So he went to that small triangle position and he's essentially going to walk up from there. Front foot's now positioned and now you're going to see eyes up, head up, arms up. Immediately he goes into a coffee cup position, which you'll get to later. And he starts doing some cardboard slides. We'll just look at one more. Carissa Moore. Eyes up, head up, looking down the line. Back foot is already planted. That is the closest rendition that you're going to see of that tripod process. And again, on dry land, you need to be able to do it slow because then you can then speed it up if necessary within the water, perhaps on a beach break, a slabbing kind of wave where it all has to happen a bit quicker. Now, front foot hits. She's a sprinter in the blocks. She's walking up to pop up. And then hands are up. You're going to see coffee cup. There's a cardboard slide. Absolutely beautiful. We're here. We might as well watch one more. Parko getting a few really good strong paddles. Looking where he wants to go. Going up into that arch position. He's now pressed his knees and thighs off of that tail pad, and the board's dropping out from underneath him, so it's going to give him a little more clearance to swing those legs through. Back foot's already planted. So between back, you can see his front leg is not in contact with the board yet. Back foot is planted, so he has back foot roughly about here behind that white water. So he has that small triangle position. This is exactly like that sprinter out of the blocks position. Front foot planted, beautiful coffee cup, arm swing, cardboard drive. So just to drive the point home, we're going to watch Clay do the walk up to pop up process again. So he's going to reverse engineer. In this first one, he's going to do the full triangle process. So big triangle, small triangle, walk up to pop up. On this next one you're going to see, he'll reverse engineer and he'll pop up as if it is a shortboard, using only knee pressure and no foot pressures. Reverse engineer, nice cobra, eyes up, head up, pressure off the knees, small tripod, walk up to pop up. Let's take a look at one more real life example. This is me in the mental wise at Roxy's, and this is right after my pop-up in this sprinter out of the blocks athletic stance position. You can see I'm directionally facing forwards. I have access to bottom turn. I can extend and stand tall. I can crouch to a barrel. I'm athletically ready, and my pop-up, my walk-up, put me into that position. So I want to show a good versus bad with you considering that athletic stance pop-up position I just showed you. Here's a walk up to pop up. Eyes up, head up, walk up, hands up. One more time. Eyes up, head up, smooth transition. And it puts me directly into that athletic stance position. So what we're going to look at now is a really inefficient way to practice a pop-up. I don't know this guy. If you see this video and you know him, have him reach out to me. We'll tweak his pop-up. But this was on social media. So have a watch and just pay attention to the position he puts himself into and consider if that is a ready athletic surf stance position. Where's the back foot position? Pointed backwards. His back leg is pointed backwards. Is anything telling his board to go in this direction? Nothing about his posture is in correct alignment. Nothing about the positioning is in a correct surf stance. This has essentially put him into the crab poo man surf stance. So if we watch that again, this is how most people practice their pop-up because they don't know the position they need to get into, and this is a pop. This is not a walk. Look at the thud and impact. Wah! You do not need to put that much effort. He's held his breath. He's red-faced. Literally the backside of his body, and we'll touch on this in later aspects of the program, the back half of his body is telling his board to stop or go backwards, when essentially he would want to go this way. So he's not looking where he's wanting to go. He has no idea of what the wave's doing. He's using momentum where there should already be in a nice upright cobra position. Still not looking where he wants to go. And then imagine the impact, that piece of foam floating atop of water, the impact and thud that has just taken place. That is exactly how we do not want to practice a pop-up. A question we often get asked is about speed. Are all pop-ups always that slow? No, they're not. The wave dictates that, your timing, the steepness, the shape. Are you about to get barreled and pig dog? So I want to show you some variations in speed. So here I am, kind of average speed, right? That's most standard well-timed breaks. You can see from here, it's if a shortboard, I come to mini or small triangle right here between back foot. So here would be the tail pad, 2 front hands. Swing the front leg through and immediately eyes up, arms up, right? Because this upright position, if I compress down, it's the bottom of that pop-up essentially, but also a good barrel crouch rather than back foot facing the wrong direction, poo man barrel crouch. So let's continue watching. I'll come back down, just reverse it. That was a much quicker process, but still fluid, soft, and easy. No thudding. So you can see I'm going to push off my knees off the back of the board. Mind you, if it's a wave, it's a steeper wave that's requiring something faster, the board's going to drop out from underneath you, giving you a little more space to pull those legs through. But my back foot still landed first. Slow, eyes up, head up, arms up. Faster. So it's ultimately the same pop-up. It's just a difference in speed depending on what the wave dictates. What I want to show you now is literally this walk up. Often when we're coaching people, we have them lay on the ground and we say, get up and walk towards me. And if you can do that, you can pop up. So literally, it is a walk up, as if you were to get up and walk across the room. We go in slow-mo. I'm looking where I want to go. My back foot plants where that tail pad would be. And then there's that sprinter in the blocks position, essentially, the athletic position. And then I simply walk forward. It's this, we need people to get upright. And so here, if we generally tell an individual to get your arms up, which I will demonstrate in a later walk up, it will automatically get them to upright the torso. That was if I was going to run forward. Again, that sprinter out of the blocks position. There is literally a run forward. And that's the same athletic position. Boom, I'm about to get barreled. I'm putting inertia and momentum forwards. I'm swinging my body weight forwards rather than the poo man position where I'm swinging half of my body weight backwards. I'll do a few more reps here that just demonstrate why it literally is a walk up. And if you can lay on your belly and get up and walk forwards, you can pop up. That is what most people do with their pop up. This is why it is imperative that you get the eyes up, head up, but then if we lift the arms up, it will upright the rest of the torso. How many people do you see surfing hunched over here and only using their hip joint poo man position rather than using the knee joints? Now, if I bring my hands up, it uprights the torso. That's why it's imperative that you get comfortable getting arms up, hands up, especially that rear arm coffee cup. Again, one last movement. That's walking up with hands forward. Often, for some reason, a cue that we use often with guys is think of having a beer in each hand and you're laying on the ground. Why you're laying on the ground with 2 beers is beyond me. But you're going to get up and you're going to bring me those beers across the room. Bring me them beers. That is the process of a walk up to pop up. Let's watch that one last time. Perfect. So in closing, you simply walk up to pop up. It's a smooth transition as if you are laying on the ground, getting up to walk across the room. And it's placing you into that athletic fighter sprinter out of the blocks position where you're ready to react in any position whatsoever. And all you do for a shortboard is simply press off the knees and thighs and not initiate with that large triangle that you see there. You go right to the short triangle by drawing that back foot up, placing on the tail pad, driving off of that into the walk up to pop up. I hope this gives you some clarity.